Richard, and thank you for the introduction. Yeah, so a little bit, very briefly about myself. I've been at Page, or Michael Page, as you may know us, for 37 years, and I joined when the business was 240 people, and I'm glad to say we're 8,240 people now. So I've seen quite a lot of growth, and I can thank, I'm sure, some of you for that. So thank you. I'm also pleased to say that I went through some of the data that Richard sent to us, and on page 5, it said that employee turnover was the biggest constraint to your growth. So clearly a very big topic at the moment. I've been running the business for 17 years, and during that time, I also had a near fatal accident. So what you can't tell, because I probably look like a typical CEO of a FTSE 200 as I sit here, but I'm in a wheelchair and I'm a paraplegic. So a little bit different, and possibly that gives me a slightly different twist to the way I think as well. Remember, people leave leaders, and so how you lead your organization probably reflects your staff turnover. So maybe people should think about that as well. And I'm pleased to say Page Group's staff turnover at the moment is at a record low. And I don't think many companies at the moment can necessarily boast that. It's expensive, staff attrition. It's inconvenient, and it impacts in many ways staff morale, because naturally other staff that are working for you get stretched when there's a lot of gaps. Naturally, it reflects on probably client relationships if you're under-resourced and so on. And of course, staff exit interviews, as Richard said, have their use, I'm sure. But people on the whole are generally polite and probably won't say the real reasons when they're interviewed, I'm afraid to say. But one thing's for sure, they tell us the real reasons when they then meet us. And so from our perspective, it's quite interesting what we hear. And it's a lot of reasons. You know, the way that I'm led, the values of my manager, of the business, their lack of focus on diversity and inclusivity, and certainly equity with that, the lack of focus on ESG generally, sustainability particularly, the lack of purpose in the organization, their inflexibility towards the way they work, the sort of offices they've got, they're not attractive to go back to, and they're not accessible to my particular needs, remembering that 20% of the population, or 18% to be more accurate, are disabled in some way, either invisible or visible. So that's me jumping on the soapbox and back off again. So let's think about it for a moment, and it's all very obvious. First of all, COVID's been a great period of reflection, and I'm sure we can all think of examples amongst our friends, those that have decided they live in the wrong place, the wrong type of house, the garden's too small, the wrong job, the wrong partner even. And I'm sure we've all got stories as people have reflected on COVID. Certainly a lot of people have reflected, am I working for the right organization? Am I in the right sector doing the right type of job? And they're acting on it. And so, you know, lots of other reasons for sure. The barrier to moving jobs, which people forget, has also radically reduced. You know, the days when we had 20 days holiday and I was trying to arrange people to go to an assessment center where you had a 1 in 6 chance of getting a job and you had to take the entire day off to do it, which either meant taking it as holiday, so that's 5% of your holiday gone, or you lie. Neither are comfortable. Nowadays, it's a video at 6 o'clock tonight. You know, and you can have a first, second, and third interview probably in the next week, and you've landed a job. So you're going to probably consider more options. And if you are mildly unhappy at work, well, what sort of commitment are you making to go for a few video interviews and explore the market out there and see what's available and see what salaries are being offered, what other companies have got in terms of employer branding and so on. So the speed of hiring is obviously quicker and so on. And they'll certainly consider jobs perhaps otherwise they wouldn't have considered. This is a worldwide issue. We're in 37 markets. Richard has highlighted there probably one of my better management decisions. About 10 years ago, we pulled out of Russia. So yes, but we are in 37 other geographies. And the UK actually only represents 14% of the group. So, we've got a good flavor, but this is literally happening everywhere. We're performing at record levels in every single market. And it is something that clients have to be very aware of and necessarily, I don't think, are focused as much as they could be. Candidate shortages exist in most areas, and yet clients, particularly in-house resourcing teams, tend to, and this isn't everyone, so don't get sensitive, but tend to fish in the same pools, which is strange, isn't it, really? So the tried and tested methods don't work, but you keep doing it rather than actually thinking, okay, what's important to my employees, such as diversity, for example. Maybe we should be exploring all those different pools. When was the last time I interviewed somebody who was obviously disabled, for example? Again, back on the soapbox, but how many times have you interviewed somebody in a wheelchair or somebody who had a physical disability? Well, unless you're fishing in different pools, you're not going to be. And so, maybe that's requires a change of approach. Now I'm getting waved at. So I've probably highlighted a lot of things. My time is up, but I'm sure I'll happily answer questions later. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.